So, yes, we are live. Welcome to eVision Live with Dr. Alexandra Kleeberg
and Dietrich Busaka. Welcome to a happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
We have today a very special topic, which is a topic of coherence. And I have to, first of all, I have to cut off the sound of Facebook so I can really also hear Alexandra. So coherence is a very special topic because Alexandra has been to a working group of salutogenesis, and we have made an interview with a German professor, Gerald Hüther. So we will have several episodes on the theme of coherence. For me, Alexandra, what is coherence? For me, it sounds a little bit academic, the term coherence.
Yes,
it's
an academic term. Last eVision Live, I talked about the homing thoughts. And for me, coherence means feeling at home in my body, feeling at home in my life, and feeling at home in this world. It means to be yourself, to be in unity with yourself, what you feel, what you think, what you want, and to feel in coherence and in unity with the surroundings and actually also with this universe.
So, okay, so when we talk about coherence, where does this term come from?
I would say it comes from a medical sociologist. His name is Aaron Antonovsky. He lived from the 1920s till about 20 years ago. And he did some research with women in concentration camps, but after they have been rescued.
So survivors of concentration camps.
Yes, and he wanted to find out how these women survived. And he had a very, very interesting result. He had, I think, about 29% of these women, they didn't suffer physically and they didn't suffer psychologically, although they all came from a very, very, very terrible trauma.
Wow, how can that be?
Yes, that's what he was questioning. And he did a lot of interviews with these women to find out what happened, or how could it be that about 70% of the survivors felt physically ill, they felt psychologically traumatized, and how could it be that these 29% didn't have these negative effects?
Mm-hmm.
And he found out 3 important categories. And one category is they had a sort of mental frame for their life and for their destiny. So they could make a structure or some sort of sense out of this.
Even a concentration camp?
They could put it in mental categories, and that helped them to structure this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The second is that they had some sort of feeling, they knew how to act or how to solve problems and how to act and not only to react. So this was important too. And the third one was that they felt a sense in their life. So it's 3 aspects: in mental, in feeling a sense and a deeper meaning in life, and in acting and the possibility to act in a way and so to change the situation in some ways. So that were the main criteria, and he used the word salutogenesis because he asked for what makes people healthy and what helps them to stay healthy over lifetime. And when you go to doctors, you often we're not asked what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel healthy, but what makes you sick.
Exactly. This
So
is normal.
medicine
When I
over
go
a
to the
long
doctor,
time asks what makes you sick. And Antonovsky sort of brought this new question into medicine and psychology. What makes you feel healthy? What makes you feel strong? What makes you feel fulfilled?
yeah.
And so the essence of it is that you have a meaning in life, that you see possibilities to be creative, and you have a wide mindset where you can put in all sorts of even maybe contradicting informations.
Mm-hmm.
So this theory got differentiated over the decades and filled with other qualities such as self-love, self-esteem, self-management, self-regulation, and so forth. But still the question is what makes people healthy? And we have this eVision looking for self-healing stories, and this is also a salutogenetic approach to look how can people make themselves healthy, how can they create health, and so forth. So I think it's very, very important to focus on that. And if you have a doctor at home and you go there with an illness, you pretty soon find out if this is a doctor that is orientated into salutogenesis or who is orientated into pathology.
Yeah,
And
but this is normal, actually. I don't really, because actually you want to know where the disease, the illness comes from, and then you ask, well, what could it be? What could have been the roots for this? And so it's a complete paradigm shift if you start asking, okay, you have this kind of illness, you have these symptoms. Okay, what would make you feel happy, and what would you feel make healthy?
Yes, it's a shift. You might also ask what are the causes of the sickness. As you said in the beginning, I was in a group with doctors and psychologists and professors working on salutogenesis with cancer clients.
Mm-hmm.
And this one German oncologist who treated cancer clients over 40, 50 years, he said he always asks, what feels good in your body? What makes you feel happy?
Mm-hmm.
What can you achieve yourself to get out of negative thoughts and so forth? So he makes a salutogenetic approach to this sickness. And this helps people to shift their mindset to defocus from pathology rather than to focus on goals and well-being. And I think this is very important that when we want to become healthy, that we shift our mindset away from sicknesses, from diseases, to ease. How can we live a life in ease, a life which is joyful, which is creative, which is exciting, or whatever? So I think it's very important that doctors also ask these questions. Maybe 1/3 pathology and 2/3 salutogenesis. And what makes a person feel coherent in his life? Because if you look at cancer, for example, with the interviews we did, they always said, now, since this cancer diagnosis woke me up and shaked me, I'm back home now. Maybe for the first time, I live my own life, my real life. That's what I am, and that's what I always wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. So this means be coherent with yourself, or
Yes, we in Germany, in Europe, and I think probably in a lot of countries, we are trained not to be ourselves. Maybe as a little baby, we can be ourselves, but then there is a system in our society that we call education, which means exducere, which means to lead away from, to lead out of. So education sort of could mean to lead you out of yourself into society. and to lead you
You get
out.
into society, and in society, then everybody again functions, let's see, should function in a coherent way. That's why actually what society wants to. Even like the best, if it would be soldiers marching just in one beat.
Yes, but those soldiers might not be in coherence with themselves.
Yeah.
They might be, and it's important to be coherent within yourself and to be coherent with the environment around. So society educates us, leads us away into a system where we should function and we should be orientated to the norms of the society and not to the norms which are inside, or the longings or the feelings or whatever. So sort of as a little child, we are not allowed to scream when we want to scream, to cry when we want to cry. And at school, you're not allowed to move as you want to move, but you have to sit straight and your eyes are not allowed to wander. You have to look into one direction. So it becomes very restricted, and we really forget to be ourselves, or we forget how it is to be ourselves.
Yeah, this is great. Actually, Alexandra, you have developed a little model about, about coherence. But before this, I think there is something, an experiment about metronomes. And, metronomes are these little machines that if you play the flute, if you play the piano, that gives you directs you the beat. And it makes tuck, 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 tuck. And yes, maybe you explained a little bit the experiment, and I tried to, let's see, maybe to show it. So,
okay. So there are some videos on YouTube about the metronomes, and if you have maybe 10 metronomes and you sort of get them swinging in different moments, yes, just start it.
Yes, I will start it.
Yes, that's it. It's the advanced experiment. Usually it starts with that you have them on a plate and they all are different. And now in this experiment, they have them on a swinging plate. And when you have a swinging plate, then after a while, they swing in the same rhythm. But
and very fast. You will see it. I can advance it a little bit, even if they're already getting into it. There's one at the left still out of a beat, but it will just take a few seconds and they will be all in beat. Now they are.
Yes.
It's amazing. And you even there are other videos on YouTube where you can just have them with 32 or even more metronomes at the same time.
But so you have to have a swinging foundation. If you put them on a plate, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's an analogy for us. We need to have this swinging base. So everything in our body comes into harmony, the different organs, the cells, the procedures that are in our body. So it's very important to be swinging and flexible. And that's where this paper I created.
Yes, that's where your model comes in, and I will share this screen too. Hopefully you can see it now. It should be there.
Yes, it is there. And the basis for coherence is flexibility. When we talk about self-healing, and this means emotional flexibility, that you express your emotions. Emotion comes from emovere, to move out, to be full of joy, to resonate everything that comes in and to bring it into balance or into self-regulation. So emotional flexibility is very important. Then bodily flexibility. A lot of people think when they jog or when they do exercises, they are flexible. I mean, it's important to be flexible in sort of feeling at ease, to be just flexible. If you jog, you are not really, you move, but you might not be flexible. You're flexible, for example, on a trampoline. Then whenever you come down, it's different. And you sort of have to get into balance again and again and again. Or if you dance just in a loose way, you're flexible. But if you control your movements, like while jogging or being on some sort of muscle training machine, it's not the flexibility I'm talking about. It's to always bounce back into balance. Then we need mental flexibility, not to think like that. I used to have a Prussian brain, and the Prussian brain is very disciplined and very eager to achieve something. It has a lot of norms and regulations. And it took me a lot of time to get rid of this Prussian brain and to have a flexible brain and to play around with ideas, with dreams, with concepts, and most of all, to create a mental set that serves your wellness and your fulfillment and your happiness and that of the world around. Then there is spiritual flexibility, which I think is important for the sort of self-healing I teach, that you are not strict in the norms that your religion puts into you. I have some people in my groups from Christian background, from Muslim background, from Buddhist background. And some say, oh, the world has to be like this, and you have to act like this, and you have to believe like this. And spiritual flexibility means to be open, to have values that serve the nature of our body, the nature of our emotions, and not to suppress those, not to suppress emotions, to believe in the norms of some higher entity or something like that. We need norms and values that help us to get well and help us to express our emotions and help us to make mistakes and help us to be just human.
Okay.
So it means a different set of values, tolerance and positivity. That whatever happens, it's a fertilizer for my life.
Yeah, okay.
So this is what we can do to bring ourselves together. Coherence means it's brought together, it belongs to each other. So to come into unity on a flexible, swinging base with ourselves. And in addition to that, it's also important to have a flexible community. And this means not a community that is guided by too many strict rules and norms, but that is guided by the longings and the feelings and the creativity of the individuals in the community. So they can blossom. I'm a Jungian psychoanalyst, and Jung calls that individuation, to become yourself. And this community is swingingly grounded in respect, in heartfulness, and in authenticity. Not in norms, but in heartfulness. If we are heartful, if we respect, if we are authentic, if we love, then we won't do anything that harms other persons.
Yeah.
So this is also important, to be coherent with the community, and the community is a flexible community, and the universe is very flexible anyway. So it's actually, it's easy to come into unity with the universe.
Yeah. Okay. So this actually coherence is not necessarily everybody beating in the same beat like the metronomes, but being flexible and always finding again a common rhythm. And then
I have the metronomes. I understand it as an analogy for the processes in the body, for the different organs, for the cells, that they are in harmony. And also with the community, not that we are like soldiers, but we sort of swing in the same rhythm, we sing the same song, we dance the same dance.
Okay.
It's not like soldiers, but it's a swinging rhythmic interplace, in between place.
Yeah, okay. And a little bit that, let's see, everybody, as we are not staying all the time in coherence, but we are sometimes then falling out. We are a little bit like a pendulum shifting from one to the other, but then we are all coming back together again.
Yes, coherence actually is a concept. Some scientists say there is never a coherence. We are always out of it because then this happens, that happens, that happens. And so it's always to try to swing back. In Germany, we call it coherence feeling. We can feel to be coherent. We can feel to be at home in our body. But then there's maybe somebody says something and we fall out of this coherence, or there is a thunderstorm and we fall out of this coherence. So it's actually, it's a process of always bouncing back. It's a process like riding a bicycle. You can only be stable when you keep on moving and fall out of balance again and again and again and again.
Yeah, it's a great example. Okay, great.
But you feel, when you feel coherence, it just feels well. It feels being clear and being awake and open and free and aware.
Yeah. Well, and I think this aspect of community that you're citing is, I think, is very important. It's, let's see, a great part of your teaching. And actually, we will have next week, we will have somebody talking about community. We made an interview with Jason Prowl, and he is the author, one of the authors of this longevity project, which there was a great video sequence on it. And and community is one of the key elements for longevity. And we're going to dive deeper in this aspect in the next week. So keep next week, tune in again. And Alexandra, so what could be, let's see, how could we get into coherence? What can we do? What advice, what exercises can you offer us?
You can write down, how does it feel to be yourself?
Okay, how does it feel to be yourself?
To feel yourself at home, yes.
Okay.
How does it feel to feel well? And what can you do and what have you done to get to this feeling? What helps you to get to this feeling? What sort of thinking, what sort of feeling, what sort of bodily posture, what sort of surrounding or whatever. And actually the exercise is, Anita Mojani says that you don't need to be spiritual to heal. You just need to be yourself. That's all. That's all that is necessary for healing. Just be yourself. Feel yourself at home in your body, in your life, in this universe.
Wonderful, beautiful. But a little bit, maybe what could say it's a little bit easily said to just be yourself. How can I be myself? And there I think your exercise might come in, right?
Well, you can write down at the end of the day, you reflect the day, and at which situations I wasn't myself. Just write it down, maybe while talking to my partner, while talking to my boss, while going shopping at the grocery or whatever. Just write it down and then write down what hindered you, what blocked you to be yourself. Yes, maybe, when I'm at the grocery store, actually to be myself would be just to dance or to laugh. And I had this belief I shouldn't do that at a grocery store or whatever. Just find out how you hinder yourself to be yourself.
Yeah,
it's crazy. That's education. That's the old programs that we are not allowed to be ourselves, and we have to move back to remember who we are.
Okay, wonderful. To wrap up a little bit, so we had the 3 qualities of health that you said, and you could maybe wrap up a little bit that. And then we had the definition of coherence, And finally, how to be yourself, which is the most important. Yeah.
And when you are yourself, it feels great. And if you don't feel great, something is blocking you to be yourself.
Wonderful. This is like this beautiful movie where you say it's not, if how did it say it? If it's not, if you're not happy at the end, it's not the end, or something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great,
Yes.
wonderful. So thank you so much for watching us, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below, and if you want to rate our page, please, and we deserve it, please give us a like. And yes, so next week we have this wonderful interview with Jason Prowl on community and longevity. I think I'm really looking forward to that. And anything else? One last word from you, Alexandra?
Open your heart and start.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.